Hey everybody, Luke here. Got a 2,400 point battle between my Orcs and Goblins and Rotor's Lizardmen. If you don't know who Rotor is, look up the Skull Brothers Awesome Warhammer podcast sometime. These guys are funny as hell. They put a good show together, and Rotor is one of the hosts on the show. I have met him a couple times, and we wanted to get a game in. This was the first time. I didn't really know much about Rotor's army, with the exception of knowing that it was Lizardmen, and it was extremely well painted. So, to be honest, BioShock Infinite came out this week. I really wanted to play that. I wasn't thinking about Warhammer almost at all. So I grabbed the same list I had before where I was trying a war boss on a Wyvern. And the only changes I made was really taking a few points away. I knew that Lizardman will dominate both my magic phase and their own. So I decided, let's not even play. Let's just have level 1s to carry around the arcane items I want, and let's keep those points elsewhere. So that's what I did. I got a Mangler, an Arachnarok, a Boar Chariot, a single Troll, a bus of Night Goblins like I normally have, Gobbo BSB in there, and just a level 1 Little Law. He's got the Dispel Scroll for the army. Then I've got a group of Savages with, instead of a level 4, a level 1, and he's only just barely walking around to hold the Lucky Shrunken Head to help those Savages stay alive. Then I've got a Vargulf model proxying for the War Boss on the Wyvern. 24 Black Orcs with shields, and it's really about the only upgrades I have. Got a wooden bowl to represent the perimeter of a Doom Diver since I left the model at home accidentally. Spear Chukka in the back there. Single Troll, another single Mangler, and a group of Boar Boys with a musician and I think a champion. So Rotor has a Chameleon Skinks that show up after deployment sneakily on the side here. Then he's got a Carnosaur, Salamander, and a group of Skinks in front. Then he's got a big block of Saurus Warriors with a BSB in there and a Scarvet on a cold one, kind of on the corner. You can see it's a blue-looking dinosaur. Then he has the same, a similarly kitted out Scarvet in his Temple Guard group to the right there with his level 4 Slan, Rock and Lore Master, Lore of Light on this guy. Then he's got 3 Pterodons, a Salamander, and 2 more groups of Skinks. One's behind the tree there and the other was on the right. So it's Lizardman turn 1. He moves up, as you can see, getting ready to start shooting and fleeing away as Lizardmen will do. Nothing too aggressive. Those blue Skinks are going to try to shoot the Mangler out before it gets a chance to go. The rest of his army just kind of moving up. The big blocks are slow. The shooty guys are up front, ready to do their thing. And then over here he does the same thing with this group of Skinks, sneaking up to shoot the Manglers. During Magic, it's 5 dice to 5. He casts a large Shem's Burning Gaze on my General. He's got that thing where he gets 1 free die. He just kind of pulls out of the sky whenever he wants to cast. So that's going to be a pain the entire battle trying to deal with that. And I only have a +1 to Dispel because of my 2 level 1s. But he didn't roll super high, so I threw all 5 dice and was just able to Dispel it on the nose. So that didn't go off. And then I can't remember if it was shooting from these Skinks, like the arrow indicates, or if it was like he got banishment off, but something at this point did 1 wound on my Chariot. In other shooting, these Skinks ended up blowing up the Mangler outright, and these ones failed to kill the Manglers. Now they're going to have to deal with them next turn. Just to picture what the end of turn looks like, we're moving at each other. Greenstone's turn 1, I have no animosity problems. I charge the Pterodons and they flee, but with the house I can't really see anyone else in my charge arc, so I'm just going to have a failed charge there, but they're fleeing. The Troll on the right charges the Skinks that were in front of him. They flee, and I redirect into the other group of the purplish Skinks who stand and shoot and put 1 wound on me. The Black Orcs charge the Salamander who flees, and I can't really redirect, and I do not catch him. I don't charge at my Savages, they just move up, and I just move up with my Lord as well. I move up with the Night Goblins just a bit to release the Fanatics, and then continue moving. The Fanatics, 2 of them are kind of stopping, serving as blockers, which I absolutely love, and 1 of them goes through the Skinks, killing 3 of them. Over on this left flank, the Mangler goes right through the Skinks. They can't react to random movement, blows them up, and now, unfortunately, it's on its random movement, so I'm going to have to get really lucky for that thing to come help me out in battle. The Arachnarok moves up by the forest. It's kind of got its flank protected by that terrain there, so he can just threaten coming in on someone's flank, depending on what that Carnosaur does. I marched the Troll through the woods, just so it can kind of get in a battle. Didn't really need to charge it yet. And I declare charge at the chariot on his salamander, who flees and bounces through his warriors. And that's it, pretty much, for my movement. I guess just a picture of this flank without arrows, just so you can see what it looked like. During Magic, it's 4 dice to 4, but he's got the dispelling advantage. He picks my Little Wah Gobbo to be the one who has to discard all 6s when he casts spells, and I just get off, try to get off Sneaky Stabbing. That isn't going to work, so I just throw all 4 dice at Gaze of Mork, and I get the big version, which goes off. It does 24-inch range, and I'm shooting for his BSB. He passes Lookout, so I just kill 2 warriors only. At least I got a few. During shooting, the Doom Diver aims at this Carnosaur and does 2 wounds. 1 goes to one of the crew, and 1 goes to the dinosaur itself. And the Spear Chucker wasn't able to shoot because it failed its panic test when the Mangler blew up on turn 1, so it can't shoot this turn. Archers from the Spider throw their arrows over just in range and do kill 1 skink, which is not bad. And in close combat, the skinks go first and land 3 wounds. I wasn't able to regen any of them. He already had one on him, and they just killed the troll outright. I was definitely not expecting that from skinks, but there you go. Just a picture of what this flank looks like at the end of turn. So, Lizardman turn 2, the Carnosaur charges the Arachnarok. We'll see what happens over there. He's not clipping the forest, but monster on monster action. His Pterodons auto, since they're fast cav, they auto rally and fly over here. Skinks move up, as you can see. Salamanders rally, basically both of them do. And most of his stuff here in the middle just kind of stays where it is. I mean, he's got to deal with those fanatics, and he's just kind of staying put and going to rely on shooting for a little bit. During Magic, it's 6 dice to 4. He casts Shem's Burning Gaze on the Wyvern and gets a really big roll. I'm not even going to have a chance with that, so I just use my Dispel Scroll, and traditionally my Gobbo's about to die anyway, so it's good to get the scroll out of the way is how I'm thinking. Then he casts Banishment on the Savages, end up killing 3. I was only able to ward save 1 of the wounds, so 3 of them die. In close combat, I take 2 wounds, and I do 1 in return. I end up losing by 2, but I'm stubborn and within range of the general, so I stick. Greensun's turn 2. Here's a whole bunch of nasty arrows. So basically, in order, I charge with my Boar Boys, and he flees at those skinks, and I was able to redirect. Maybe I wasn't able to redirect. These arrows aren't precisely right. There's basically 2 redirects and 2 charges that happen for each of my guys. I'm not able to catch anyone. Everyone's fleeing between the Black Orcs and the Boar Boys. That's what it looks like. Over here, I charged the skinks in the flank with my Savages. I just decided not even to worry about it and get it out of the way, but it wasn't a very good idea. I knew that the Gobbos were not going to let me really overrun too far, but now I'm exposing my flank to the Temple Guard and to the Warriors. And I'm thinking, okay, I kind of planned for that for the Warriors. I wasn't really sure about the Temple Guard. I didn't really plan for this very well because the Black Orcs can't see the Temple Guard if they charge in and help out. So that was kind of poor placement on mine. But, I do have the Gobbos who can help out. Got my Lord right there. I moved my Troll up, as you can see. Yeah, here's a better arrow. I move my Troll up, march him so that he can block the Warriors from coming in. And if they want to deal with them, they got to go through those Fanatics anyway. One of the Fanatics goes through on its random movement and kills a couple of them. My Mangler Squig is just bouncing around, going the wrong way, unfortunately. And I charge my Chariot into the flank of the Carnosaur through the woods, risk the dangerous terrain, and end up not taking any wounds from it. So that's pretty good. I think that'll help me in combat there. Here's just a picture of the Mangler and the Trolls, how I'm trying to block him. He'll have to charge me, and then, won't be able to join in the fight if he wants to hit my Savages in the flank. During Magic, it's 12 dice to 6, and I had to laugh that I've got a big phase and 2 crappy casters. I get Sneaky Stabbing off on my Savages, and he lets it go. I threw a good amount of dice, didn't really care about miscasting. I also didn't care to cast the other spell and get it off, so I just ended my Magic phase. He ended up removing 3 of my 6s on casting that, but I still got it off. During shooting, the Doom Diver lands on the pterodons, rolls a 6, and kills them all outright, which was fantastic. Everyone over here was already fleeing, so they didn't have to worry about it, and it was just awesome. I kind of felt good I didn't have 2 Doom Divers, because I felt bad after that shot. The Spear Chucket takes aim and misses. I kill the skinks very quickly, and overrun, but only overrun an inch, and basically stay where I was. So that's that fight there. And I land a few impact hits on the way in on the dinosaur, and then I think it does 2 wounds to me, and I do a couple to it and kill it outright. I don't remember if I took those wounds this turn. I must have. So my Ragnarok's on 4 of 8 wounds, but we cleaned them up pretty quickly. And here's a picture of the end of the turn. Things are going well for the Orcs and Goblins. Lizardman, turn 3. The Temple Guard, expectedly, they go into the flank of the Savages, but the Warriors just kind of stay where they are. So we'll see what happens here. His Skinks continue to flee, but the rest of his guys here rally. You can see in the upper left, the Salamander moves so that it can maybe mess with this Troll. It was fleeing and just rallied now, I believe, so it won't be able to flame this turn, but it's kind of getting back into the fight and can threaten later. During Magic, it's 9 dice to 5, so he's got a big phase because he's going to be able to approach 12 with being able to pull a free die in every cast, and 5's not a lot to dispel with. He casts Foss Protection on his Temple Guard, and I let that go. That's only -1 to hit. There's going to be worse coming. He casts Speed of Light and basically throws a bunch of dice at it, and I throw all mine to dispel it and end up getting it, which is nice because that would make him Initiative 10, Weapon Skill 10. But then he gets Time Warp off, which is the extra attack, and I think always strike first as well. Then so I have to deal with -1 and the nasty Time Warp, and then he fails trying to cast Net of Amatok, I think on my Black Orcs. He had like 1 die left and doubled it to 2, but he wasn't able to get it off. I feel so bad for the Lizardmen. Seriously, that magic phase is broken. It's just amazing. In close combat, unfortunately, I take 8 wounds and wasn't able to save very many of them. I mean, he's buffed to the teeth, and I break, and I get away, though. Bounce through my own guy, handle all the panic just fine, and he stops just short of my general. So I'm going to get to react here, and hopefully I can rally those Savages. And that's what I do. It's time to go in. So I call a Wah, and it's the first time I've ever remembered to do that. I call a Wah and send everyone in. So the general goes in. He's going to get +3 to, or, well, I guess plus D3? Yeah, I think it's plus D3 to his combat res. You can tell I've never done it much. I don't even know how it works, really. Then I charge the Ragnarok in to the flank with the Night Goblins. They wheel into the flank, so I have a lot of combat res coming in. And I had to charge the Chariot into something to get it out of the way, so I make a fairly long, I think it was a little worse than 50-50, but I get a charge into the Salamander, so I'll be able to help there. Now I'm closing in, baby. Looking pretty good. The Troll is still blocking, as you can see here, and the other Fanatic bounces through and kills a few more, so I'm getting some mileage out of those guys. I rally the Savages, which is very good for me, and I reform the Black Orcs so that they can see, and they can help out in the middle, and if the Salamander tries to come in, it won't be a flank charge. I wasn't too worried about it, but at least it'll be in the front. In close combat, the Chariot in the upper left wins by 1, but the Salamander sticks on the BSB's reroll, failing the first time. In the middle combat, he challenges with his Scar Veteran on the Dinosaur, and I accept with my Gobbo's unit champ. He overkills me something fierce, but then I just go into the unit. I net them, so they're -1 strength, take out a ton, kill a few with the Lord. The Wyvern takes out quite a few. The Gobbos take out a few. I get 2 wounds dealt to the Wyvern, but not my Lord. And then I get 2 Thunderstomps on him and just grind him down. I think he's only got 2 actual Temple Guard. It looks like 3 actual Temple Guard left. Then the Slann, who I still can't attack yet. And then the challenged Dinosaur there, who's locked up in the challenge. But that's looking really good for me. So here's a picture at the end of turn 4. or going into turn 4, and now here's Lizardman turn 4. So I knew this was going to happen. You couldn't do much about it at this point. I don't have a lot of chaff or a ton of redirecting, so he's going to go into that troll, and then he's going to overrun right into the flank of the spider. I knew that when I charged, but you know what? The spider's stubborn, and that's just what you got to do. I was hoping that I was going to... I guess I should have mentioned that. I won pretty good back here. Had a very high combat res. I think I was winning by like 2 or 3 with just wounds dealt, and then went to look at combat res. We're going to add it all up, but it didn't matter because he was stubborn with the temple guard there, so he stuck very easily. Unfortunately, I didn't really realize they were going to be stubborn. I was hoping to break them with all the wah and all that craziness. Had they not been, I probably would have, but I'm not, like I said, not that familiar with the Lizardmen. So we go back into Lizardmen. He's going to charge and overrun. That should be no problem for him, unfortunately. And we'll see what happens in the middle. He moves the Salamander up to breathe on the Black Orcs here. During Magic, it's 11 dice to 7, so unfortunately he gets a pretty good phase coming. He goes for the big bubble on Foss Protection, and I let that go. That's going to get everyone, but it's only -1 to hit, and I've been playing Chaos a lot lately, so I can handle that. I throw all my 7 Dispel dice to stop the Area of Effect Speed of Light bubble, and I end up dispelling it, which is very good because I don't want that to go off, but he was able to... Well, actually, he went for Barona's Time Warp next on the bubble version, and he failed to cast it himself. So all I'm really having to go against here is Foss Protection, and that worked out pretty well for me. In close combat, my Chariot gets eaten by the Salamander. Had 1 wound on it, and he just killed it outright. Then his warriors obviously kill the troll very quickly. I end up puking and doing 1 wound on the BSB. Or, I'm sorry, not the BSB, the Scarvet. And he overruns, but we haven't fought this combat yet, so he gets to add in here right away. And in that combat, he challenges again with his Scarvet that challenged the first time, the one down by my lord there. I accept my BSB. He puts 1 wound on my BSB, and armor saves the wound I send back at him, so we're going to be locked in a challenge there. The Wyvern and the Lord just go at the rank and file. That's the only one they can even swing at. They clear them all out. So it's really just the Slan and the challenge left down there at the end of there. The Night Gobbos net the... they net the Temple Guard unit when it was there. His warriors come in and do 4 wounds, and I don't save any of them, unfortunately, and they kill the spider pretty quickly. I think the spider went before them and killed a few itself. Oh no, I'm sorry. The spider went earlier, and I threw all my attacks at the BSB because it had a flaming banner. Rotor pointed out that he probably didn't have a lot of magic items to protect him, and I rolled really poorly. A lot of that was due to the fact that Foss Protection was up, but I only landed 2 wounds, and he ward saved 1 of them, so I only landed 1 wound. Then he killed the spider, and that was kind of how it went. Now this was a question we had. I brought this up a little bit, and Rotor seemed like he knew what was going on. I think that because he's killed the spider here, his combat with those warriors is over. The warriors win, and they're just standing outside now, removed from combat. That's how I understand it. Rotor has a lot more experience in tournaments than I do, and he said that they would scoot in to be part of this battle, so we let that happen. Unfortunately, it had a really big impact for me here because now I'm in the flank, and I don't get rank bonus here, and that's not going to go very well for me at all. If you know the answer to that, let me know. I still don't think those guys would step up. I haven't had a chance to look in the rule book, but I'm pretty sure that there are combats where you can become isolated from and you don't step over the gap, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway, that's how now with the loss of him and being disrupted in the flank, something I wasn't expecting, now I am going to lose combat, and that's going to be tough, even with all that. And I, at this point... let me see. What I did, I threw my Thunder Stomp on the Slan, and I ended up doing 5 wounds, and he ward saved 3 of them. So the Slan is sitting on 1 wound left. Unfortunately, couldn't finish him off and free that up there. So we got a guy in a challenge, and the Slan, and then a big flank unit of Gobbos. Now, I've turned my BSB there, who's in the challenge, to face forward, because this is the second question we had. I told Rotor, okay, I lost combat, but I'm going to roll to reform. And face your guys. And he said, oh, you actually can't. And I made the argument that nobody's leaving combat. They're all still touching the same amount of people. We're just turning our facing so that you're not flanking us. And Rotor said, I don't think you can do that because of the challenge. We weren't really sure. We didn't even do a high-low. I said, you're probably right. But I wanted to take this picture to ask that as well. I don't know of any rule that would stop me from saying, as long as I don't remove models from combat, I'm going to put my facing this way. So that's why I'm going to keep it so that I'm flanked with those Night Goblins, but that's why I moved that model to represent this. So if you guys know the answer to that, I also don't think there's anything that stopped me from doing that. But, it's just a fun game. We didn't really care. Rotor knows more than I do. It very obviously knows more than I do about this game, so I figured we'd go with it. But everyone holds and sticks. In fact, I think I might have won that combat, even with all the combat res that went out. I can't remember. But regardless, that's what happened. So we go into Greenskin's turn 4. I come flying across on a long charge, which I didn't realize was quite as long until I decided to roll it. Instead of going into the slant, I decided to go into the flank of the Warriors, and I make it. And I choose extra hand weapons as I'm going in for those Black Orcs. I want to chop those guys up. I charge with my Boar Boys into the Salamander, who flees, but only goes a few inches, and I catch him and get some points there, so I'm feeling pretty decent. And then my Savages just kind of reform a little bit and move to the side. In case I do break, they have a little bit of a wider arc here, shimmying sideways so that I could catch someone or, countercharge them. That's kind of what I'm doing. There's nothing that happens really in Magic, and there's no shooting because everyone's really tied up. But the Doom Diver fires at, I think, the Salamander in the upper left and misses. And we go into close combat. This is a picture at the end. So in the close combat, I kill the Salon outright, and things are looking good. I've just killed his general, and traditionally, that's when Lizardmen have a lot of trouble. I net the Warriors, which is good, so now they're going to be strength 3 instead of 4. He does a bunch of kills on the Goblins, and then basically throws them all at the Goblins, and I lose combat by 3, even after killing the Slan. So unfortunately, I have to roll. My general breaks and gets run down by the free Scarvet because basically the challenge is over and my Gobos broke at the same time. So the Scarvet chases the Lord and kills him, catches him right away, and overruns into the Savages, which is like, oh man, how did that happen? But I guess we traded generals. So I was thinking, all right, it's probably not that bad. My Gobos get away, and then he turns his victorious Lizardmen to face my Black Orcs now, and we're going to have a chop fest. He has a lot of guys there, and you can see in the picture he's going away from horde attacks to get more ranks. Lizardman turn 5, he is just barely in range, and he declares a charge at the Salamanders, pushing these Goblins further, closer to the edge of the board. In close combat, the Scar Veteran is still buffed up, and I have trouble hitting him. I don't accept his challenge, and he ends up doing 3 wounds plus a charge. I whiff all my attacks, do nothing, and I break, having no real good leadership, and the lone Scarvet runs my guys down and is sitting right in front of that Doom Diver. I couldn't believe it. I was doing so well, and now everything's just falling apart. But I think that Scarvet is now the MVP of the game for who he's run down. Up top, he goes to town on my Black Orcs, and I roll like ass. Just terrible. I did some wounds to him, but nowhere near enough. He did like 13 to me, and I break and run. And as I run, I clip and run through those Boar Boys who panic and then run from the closest unit, who at the time was those skinks there. So it pushes them. They panic away from the guys that actually kind of made them panic in the first place. It's very bizarre, and that's what happens. On my turn, I rally and move these guys away. Fairly confident I rallied. Yeah, rally. Over here, we go back to his turn. We're closing in on the end of the game here. He shoots with all his 20 shots and only kills 1 Black Orc, so my guys are cheering because they get to keep their points. And here at the end of the game, basically, I take a couple shots. The Spear Chukka just takes aim first off and blows that Scarvet to hell, which is great because I got a little bit of emotional victory from killing that guy with some sort of cheap little Spear Chukka. And the Doom Diver, unfortunately, only lands 1 wound and isn't able to kill the Salamander and net those points. So at the end of the game, pretty much everything's running. He's got 2 big blocks left. Oh, and it doesn't show in this picture, but my Night Goblin group did go off the board. Unfortunately, didn't rally. And so he got those points as well. The end of the game, all said and done, Rotor ends up with 2,058 points, and Luke ends up with 1,588. So we won by a good 500 points. So it was a good game for Rotor. I mean, it was a fun one to play, and I did not expect how it was going. If I had to put money on that midway through the game, I would have thought the Orcs and Goblins were going to pull that out because we were just creaming them. I definitely don't want to take any part of the victory away, but like I said when we were going through the battle report, I'm not sure that he could have stepped up and gotten into my flank, and I really do feel like I would have had a chance to reform. So that might change the game a bit. I mean, who knows? It was still some pretty crazy rolling left and right, and some really buffed up Lizardmen, and I can't complain too much, but because I was staring down the barrel of a really strong magic opponent, and I got really lucky actually. There were a couple of bad spells that went off that just helped him quite a bit, but it was nowhere near as bad as it could have been in terms of the magic phase. But all in all, a really fun game. Those Lizardmen, especially hoarded up like that, they're a tough nut to crack. They're always fleeing, so they're tough to catch. And I know I need more chaff in this list. I just, with running the guy on the Wyvern, I didn't have the points, and I haven't really looked at how to make it better yet. And definitely need to get some goblins on wolves and other chaff to run around. It would make this so much easier if I wasn't relying on a single troll and then, I don't know, like the flank of a spider to be my effective chaff to keep guys out of where I'm going. But a fun game. Very close, and at the end, a solid victory for the Lizardmen, and Rotor's a fantastic guy. Listen to the Skull Brothers Awesome podcast if you haven't. Thanks, guys.